Lu Fan's steps echoed softly in the grand corridors of Dragon City Academy as he approached Professor Gu Han. The professor had one hand resting on her waist as she gazed into the distance, seemingly lost in thought. Lu Fan, with his calm and composed demeanor, broke the silence. "Professor Gu," he began, "what important matter does Vice Director Zhao wish to discuss with me? I find it perplexing that he would summon me just before the freshman assessment." Professor Gu Han turned her head slowly towards Lu Fan, her lips curling into a mysterious smile. She remained silent, her eyes glinting with a knowing light. After a moment, she turned away and started walking, gesturing for Lu Fan to follow. "You'll find out soon enough," she said, her voice carrying a hint of amusement. Lu Fan, his curiosity piqued, followed Professor Gu Han. As they walked, he couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation mixed with confusion. What could Vice Director Zhao Shanming possibly want to discuss at such a crucial time? As they made their way through the academy, Lu Fan's attention was drawn to two students conversing animatedly ahead of them. One of the students, a tall boy with a mischievous grin, was speaking excitedly. "Did you hear? Another expert from the Azure class made a new evaluation today." His companion, a shorter boy with a thoughtful expression, turned to him with a smile. "You mean number 73, Hong?" "Yeah, I heard about it." Their conversation piqued Lu Fan's interest. He wondered what new evaluation they were referring to and how it might impact the upcoming assessments. Professor Gu Han noticed Lu Fan's interest in the students' conversation. She glanced back at him with a playful smile. "It seems those students' words have caught your attention. Are you that intrigued by their discussion?" Lu Fan closed his eyes for a moment, letting out a forced smile. "I've been so engrossed in my studies and training in the secret realm that I hardly understand what my classmates are talking about these days." As they reached the end of the hallway, Professor Gu began to climb the stairs. One hand rested on the ornate railing, the other gesturing as she spoke. "All this chatter among the students, Lu Fan, is because of you," she said with a hint of pride. "Your duel with Hong Wu and the subsequent betting of points has stirred quite the commotion." Lu Fan's eyes widened in surprise. "Because of me?" he asked, his voice filled with disbelief. "What do you mean?" Professor Gu continued climbing, her voice echoing softly in the stairwell. "When you and Hong Wu challenged each other, betting your points, it set a precedent. The new students realized that competing in this manner could earn them more points. They've started calling this the new evaluation." Lu Fan was taken aback. He had no idea that his actions would have such a ripple effect. "A new evaluation?" he repeated, trying to wrap his mind around the concept. Professor Gu nodded. "Yes, occasionally, new students engage in duels. The winners accumulate more points, while the losers can find themselves struggling to even afford meals in the academy's cafeteria." Lu Fan's brow furrowed. "And what did those students mean by number 73 Hong?" They reached the top of the stairs and entered the administrative area. The hallway was bustling with activity. Lu Fan spotted a familiar figure, Hong Wu, holding a mop and cleaning the floor with a dejected expression. His shoulders slumped, and his eyes were filled with despair. Professor Gu Han paused, pointing at Hong Wu with a slight nod. "Number 73 Hong," she began, "is a reference to the duel between you and Hong Wu. The students have taken your duel as a standard, using Hong Wu's strength as a unit of measure. Your strength is considered to be 100, while Hong Wu's strength is 1. He is the baseline." Lu Fan's eyes widened as he looked at Hong Wu, now understanding the weight of his victory. "So, Hong Wu is 1, he muttered, more to himself than to Professor Gu. Professor Gu Han nodded. "Yes, and now, Hong Wu is working to clean the academy. At least this way, he can earn some points and avoid starving or dropping out." As they walked past Hong Wu, Lu Fan couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions. Several minutes later, Professor Gu Han led Lu Fan to the imposing door of Vice Director Zhao Shenming's office. The air was thick with anticipation, and Lu Fan could feel his heart pounding as he prepared to face whatever awaited him inside. Professor Gu Han turned to him, her eyes meeting his with a reassuring smile. "Vice Director Zhao is expecting you," she said softly. "Enter quickly." Lu Fan nodded, his expression serious. "Understood." He grasped the doorknob and slowly opened the door, peeking inside. "Vice Director Zhao, are you looking for me?" he asked, his voice steady despite the uncertainty he felt. Seated behind a grand desk, Vice Director Zhao Shunming looked up from his papers. Upon seeing Lu Fan, he smiled and gestured for him to enter. "Come in quickly, Lu Fan." Lu Fan stepped into the office, closing the door behind him. He stood silently before the vice director, waiting for him to speak. Before your admission, Professor Gu Han promised you a spot in the national trial, Vice Director Zhao began, his tone serious. However, there's been a change of plans. Lu Fan's curiosity was piqued. A change of plans? Vice Director Zhao nodded. The national trial, which was originally scheduled to be held in 5 months in Jinyu City of the Taichi Nation, has been moved up. It will now take place in just 2 months. Lu Fan's eyes widened in surprise. 2 months? Why the sudden change? Zhao Shunming leaned back in his chair, his expression thoughtful. The Taichi Nation announced that their participants will include Jin Chenghan, the eldest son of the Jin family. He is expected to reach level 60 and complete his 3rd job transformation within a month. The Taichi Nation wants to start the trial immediately after Jin Chenghan's transformation. Lu Fan's mind raced. Jin Chenghan was the elder brother of Princess Jin Zhu, with whom he already had a contentious history. This sudden advancement in the trial's date seemed too convenient to be a mere coincidence. He turned his head slightly, staring intently at Vice Director Zhao. They want to ensure Jin Chenghan's participation at his peak, Lu Fan said, understanding the implications. This is a strategic move. Zhao Shunming's expression darkened, and anger flashed in his eyes. He clenched his fist and slammed it hard on the table, the sound reverberating through the room. His gaze was fierce as he looked at Lu Fan, who stood calmly, trying to understand the gravity of the situation. What you're saying is true, Zhao Shunming began, his voice tense with frustration. In other nations, most participants in the national trial have reached their 2nd job transformation. But according to our analysis, the Taichi Nation wants Jin Chenghan to be the undisputed winner of this trial. Lu Fan placed his hand under his chin, deep in thought. He knew that the difference between 2nd and 3rd job transformations was not just about levels. Every leap from one transformation to the next unlocked new traits and skills, greatly enhancing a participant's strength. The realization that the Jin family was using these dirty tricks again, after trying to coerce him into servitude, made his blood boil. Zhao Shunming stood up from his chair, placing a hand on the table for support. He closed his eyes briefly, a look of deep regret crossing his face. I deeply regret the unfair situation that has arisen, he said. The promise we made to you earlier, it seems we've put you in a difficult position. He turned to face Lu Fan, his eyes serious and determined. In 2 months' time, until the national trial is held, at most, you can reach level 30 and achieve your 2nd job transformation. But in the trial, you'll be up against a group of experts with levels not less than 50 and possibly higher. This disparity in power could be catastrophic and may even lead to your death. Zhao Shunming approached Lu Fan, his hand resting heavily on Lu Fan's shoulder. In all past national trials, Dragon Nation has always outperformed others and achieved victory. This time, however, the Dragon Nation is being especially targeted by other nations. And now, with the Taichi Nation's scheme, we have even less time to prepare. Lu Fan's gaze dropped to the ground, the weight of Zhao's words pressing down on him. The room fell into a heavy silence, and for a moment, it seemed like the enormity of the situation might overwhelm him. Zhao Shunming, observing Lu Fan's reaction, softened his tone and asked, "Do you still want to participate in the national trial?" Lu Fan remained silent, his eyes fixed on the floor. The seconds stretched into what felt like minutes, and just as Zhao Shunming began to doubt, Lu Fan raised his head. His eyes were clear and determined as he pointed to himself with his thumb and smiled. "This is my opportunity to enter the ranks of the elites of Dragon Nation," he said confidently. "Not only do I want to join the national trials, but I also aim to win the top spot." Zhao Shunming stared at Lu Fan, his silence heavy with contemplation. His eyes scanned Lu Fan, his mind racing with several questions. Finally, he closed his eyes, a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. Seeing the unwavering determination in Lu Fan's eyes, Zhao decided to place his bet on this young prodigy. "Very well," Zhao said, his voice filled with newfound resolve. He approached Lu Fan again, placing his hand back on his shoulder and looking deeply into his eyes. "Perform well in the freshman assessment, and I'll provide the necessary resources for your growth." Lu Fan's smile widened. "Thank you, Vice Director. I assure you of my certain victory in the freshman assessment." He paused, his gaze steady. "But remember, it'll be a tough job for you to provide the resources I need to level up." The next day, the atmosphere at Dragon City Academy was electric with anticipation. Freshmen filled the grand hall for the assessment conference, eager yet anxious about the trials ahead. The chatter of students echoed off the high ceilings as they settled into their seats. All eyes turned to the stage as Zhao Shunming stepped onto the auditorium. His presence commanded immediate silence. Placing both hands on the wooden dais, Zhao began his speech. "Welcome, new students," he started, his voice carrying authority and warmth. "As freshmen, it is crucial for each of you to follow the Academy's rules and uphold its honor. Today, I will announce this year's evaluation criteria." With a flourish, Zhao extended his hand backward, using a remote control to activate a large display window. A bracket appeared on the screen, labeled 2 versus 2 Arena. The hall buzzed with excitement and confusion. Zhao continued, "This year's assessment will be an arena battle with teams of 2. The first place winners will be awarded 5,000 points each, second place 3,000 points each, and third place 2,000 points each." The announcement sent ripples of shock and excitement through the students. Murmurs and whispers filled the hall as they digested the news. Some faces lit up with confidence, while others showed clear concern. One student, already strategizing, turned to his friend and asked, "Will you team up with me? We can win this." His friend, however, looked hesitant and declined. "We're both healers. We need a different strategy." Amidst the commotion, Qin Xiu approached Lu Fan with a confident smile. "Looks like we'll need to form teams of 2, she said. "Thankfully, we don't need more than 5 people." Lu Fan turned to her, nodding. "That's true. My Aunt Han Jia doesn't engage in combat, so that leaves us exactly enough to form 2 teams." As the students continued to discuss among themselves, Zhao Shanming called for their attention again. "I understand that many of you might not have formed teams yet, but it's not too late. The preliminary rounds start this afternoon, and by tomorrow night, we will have our top 100 teams." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Those interested in participating can register now with Professor Gu Han," he announced. "Good luck to you all." The meeting had just ended, and the students of Dragon City Academy streamed out of the Grand Hall, their minds abuzz with thoughts of the upcoming evaluation. Outside the student dorms, the atmosphere was vibrant with excitement and chatter. Among the crowd, Lu Fan walked alongside Qin Xiu, his hands tucked casually into his pants pockets. Qin Xiu spotted Jianing and called out, "Jianing, over here." She waved with one hand, her magical staff firmly gripped in the other. Jianing turned, a smile spreading across her face as she saw her friends. As the group converged, Lu Fan smiled warmly and greeted Jianing. "Hey, Jianing," he said. Just then, a student with striking purple hair appeared behind Jianing. He put his fingers to his forehead in a casual salute and introduced himself with a confident smile. "Hello, Jianing. I ranked 7th in the Academy entrance exam." He turned his gaze to Jianing, his smile growing. "I've been paying attention to you since the entrance ceremony, Jianing. I believe we could make a formidable team in the evaluation. Would you honor me by joining my team?" Before he could finish his proposal, Jianying's expression turned serious. "I'm sorry, Ryu," she said firmly. "I have already decided on my team." Her words hit the boy like a rock of disappointment. His smile faltered, and he stepped back, trying to mask his hurt. Just then, Tao Xiaoman arrived, her curiosity piqued by the scene. She looked around at her friends, and then noticed Ryu's crestfallen expression. "Why is he crying?" she asked, her brows furrowed in confusion. Qin Xiu closed her eyes briefly and sighed. He, like many others, wanted Jianing to join his team. But Jianing has made it clear she doesn't want to join any team other than ours. He came here hoping she'd change her mind, but she rejected him immediately. As the crowd dispersed after the meeting, Lu Fan gathered his friends to discuss their strategy. The group moved to a quieter corner of the campus, away from the bustling activity. With a bright smile, Lu Fan addressed his friends. "I've been thinking about our teams. I'll team up with Qin Xiu, and Jianing, you can team up with Tao Xiaoman." The day of the freshman assessment preliminary rounds dawned bright and early. The atmosphere at Dragon City Academy was charged with excitement as students gathered in the grand arena, ready to showcase their abilities. In the arena, the preliminary rounds kicked off with a series of intense battles. One match in particular caught everyone's attention. A student summoned an earth dragon, and the audience went wild. Cheers erupted from the stands as the massive creature roared and took its place in the arena. The student commanding the dragon was none other than Chu Yanji, Jin Zhu's lackey, known for his formidable dragon-taming abilities. Chu Yanji ordered the earth dragon to use its skill, Sweep. The dragon swung its massive tail, creating a powerful gust that sent its opponent flying backward. The crowd erupted in applause, amazed by the sheer force of the attack. As the opponent struggled to regain his footing, Chu Yanji seized the moment. Gathering momentum, he leaped towards his adversary, drawing his dagger with precision. His eyes glinted with determination as he activated the Dragon Lance strike, channeling the dragon's energy into a powerful attack. The purple-haired student facing Chu Yanji began to sweat, realizing the severity of the situation. Chu Yanji's attack was swift and brutal. He struck with the dagger, and the impact was so powerful that the weapon embedded itself into the ground. The opponent received multiple strikes in mere seconds, each one more devastating than the last. The purple-haired student was utterly defeated, his body collapsing to the ground. The audience was left in awe, their cheers echoing through the arena. Chu Yanji stood tall, his victory clear and undeniable. The battle had ended, and the echoes of the crowd's cheers gradually subsided. Chu Yanji, his heart still racing from the adrenaline of victory, began walking through the arena. The purple-haired student, who had put up a valiant fight, finally collapsed onto the ground, his strength utterly spent. Princess Jinzhu, her regal demeanor unshaken, approached Chu Yanji with a confident stride. Her hands on her waist, she radiated an aura of authority and poise. As she neared him, a smile curled on her lips, and she congratulated him warmly. "Well done," she said, her voice carrying a mixture of pride and ambition. "With a few more victories, we'll be in the top 16. Chu Yanji, holding his spear with one hand, placed the other on his chest in a gesture of respect. Bowing his head, he expressed his gratitude. "Thank you, Princess. Our team is now ranked 7th. The upcoming duels will be crucial if we are to challenge Lu Fan." Princess Jinzhu's eyes sparkled with a mixture of excitement and determination. "Indeed," she replied. "In a few days, my brother Jin Chenghan will visit the Dragon City Academy. If you achieve the top position, you will receive a promotion from him. I will introduce you to him personally." Chu Yanji closed his eyes momentarily, his fist clenched in resolve. "I assure you, Princess, I will not let you down. I will follow your instructions to the letter." As they spoke, the announcer's voice boomed across the arena, declaring that the next match was about to begin. Both Chu Yanji and Jinzhu turned their heads to see their next opponents stepping forward. It was the team of Lu Fan and Jianing. Lu Fan, with his trademark calm yet intense demeanor, began to intertwine his hands, his gaze fixed on Chu Yanji and Jinzhu. His presence commanded respect and attention, a testament to his position as the top-ranked student. Beside him, Jianing brushed her hair with a graceful yet determined look in her eyes. As they approached, the air seemed to thicken with the weight of anticipation. The atmosphere in the arena was electric. The whispers and murmurs grew louder when it became clear that the upcoming duel would feature two of the most talked-about dragon tamers in the academy. Chu Yanji, fresh from his recent victories, looked across the arena and saw his new opponents. He couldn't hide his shock. His usual calm demeanor gave way to confusion as he tried to comprehend what was happening. Beside him, Princess Jinzhu's confident smile faltered, her eyes widening in surprise and fear. The sight of Lu Fan and Jianing on the same team was unexpected and unsettling. Lu Fan stood silently, his intense gaze fixed on Chu Yanji and Jinzhu. Memories of the previous day flashed in his mind. After the conference, Lu Fan had approached Qin Xiu with a proposition. Smiling, he suggested that they form a team. His plan was straightforward. He and Qin Xiu would team up, while Jianing and Tao Xiaoman would form another team, ensuring that everyone could end up in strong positions. However, Qin Xiu had gently declined his proposal. Holding her magic staff with both hands, she had looked at Lu Fan with a determined expression. "This isn't necessary," she had said. She urged Lu Fan to team up with Jianing instead. "You two should go for first place," she had explained. "That way, we can retain our positions as number 1 and number 2 in Dragon City Academy." Tao Xiaoman, standing beside Qin Xiu, had put her hands on her waist and closed her eyes. With a confident smile, she had added, "I don't want to drag you down, Lu Fan. You should be the best." Qin Xiu had closed her eyes as well, her smile serene. "Don't worry about us," she had assured him. "We'll do our best to perform well in the freshman assessment." Now, in the present, Qin Xiu stood amidst the audience, waving enthusiastically at Lu Fan and Jianing. With one hand, she brought the other to her mouth, her smile encouraging. "Take first place," she called out. Beside her, Tao Xiaoman remained silent but smiled, her confidence in her friends unwavering. On the arena floor, Lu Fan started cracking his knuckles, a grin spreading across his face. He turned to Jianing and asked, "Securing first place won't be an issue, right?" Jianing, already in an offensive stance, met his gaze with a serious look. "It won't be a problem," she replied firmly.